Hi, everybody. Today's episode is called, Whoops, How the British Lost the Right to Speak Freely. Tiny little noises humans make with their mouths can start revolutions, collapse careers, destroy empires, and occasionally ruin Christmas dinner. Almost every major change in human history began the same way. Someone said something they weren't supposed to say.
Oh, shut up, Helen. We all know you're just a diversity hire.
A scientist challenged a belief.
You're a man.
A writer mocked a king.
Guards!
A citizen looked at the powerful and said, Actually, I think you are an incompetent, unimpressive, waste of time, effort, and resources. That messy, noisy argument is what we call free speech. And for a very long time, Britain was famous for it. Noisy newspapers, political pamphlets, satire so vicious it would make modern X look polite.
Good heavens.
Britain became one of the loudest public debates on Earth. But something strange has happened over time. No one stood outside Parliament and said,
Attention, everyone! Speaking freely is now banned.
Instead, something much more British happened. Someone added a rule, then another rule, then another rule. And each time the rule book got a little bit thicker. Until, eventually the rule book became so large it could stop a car. So today, on the nice show about bad things, we're going to explore how that rule book grew. And we begin with the moment Britain accidentally created modern press freedom. 1695. The Great Explosion of Speech. Printing in England required government approval. Then, in 1695, Parliament allowed the licensing system to expire.
If you don't sign now, it will expire.
Be gone, wench! I've got two better things to dip my quill in tonight.
Suddenly, printers could publish things without asking permission first. And what happened next was exactly what you might expect. Newspapers exploded across the country. Pamphlets insulted politicians. Writers mocked the government. People argued loudly in print about everything. It was chaotic. It was rude. It was glorious. Unfortunately, governments are not famous for enjoying being insulted.
What is this nonsense? Isn't this why we made prisons?
Which means the rule book was about to begin. 1792. The government meets rude newspapers. Newspapers had become extremely bold. Writers openly criticized politicians and attacked government policy. Officials tried charging publishers with seditious libel.
But, Your Honor! Quiet, you disgusting nanny sniffer!
In 1792, Parliament passed Fox's Libel Act, which allowed juries to decide whether writing was libelous, rather than leaving it entirely to judges. The tension had appeared. Speech had become something the government increasingly wanted to supervise. The tug of war had begun. 1857. The Victorians panic about dirty books. Now we travel to Victorian Britain, an era famous for enormous mustaches and the national belief that ankles were deeply scandalous. During the mid-1800s, cheap printing spread everywhere. Books and pamphlets flooded the cities, and some of those pamphlets were, let's say, enthusiastic. Victorian officials did not enjoy this development.
Disgusting.
So, in 1857, Parliament passed the Obscene Publications Act, introduced by Lord Campbell. The law allowed authorities to seize and destroy publications judged to be obscene.
Oh, lighten up! It's only a bit of boob!
But it also meant the government had the power to decide which books were morally dangerous. The definition of obscene was vague enough to stretch like chewing gum. Once the state gained the power to remove publications, that power never truly disappeared. 1911. Spies, secrets, and silence. Now we jump to the early 20th century. Britain becomes convinced that foreign agents are lurking everywhere, collecting secrets. So in 1911, Prime Minister H.H. Asquith's government passed the Official Secrets Act. The law criminalized obtaining or revealing certain government information. But one section, Section 2, went far beyond military secrets. It made unauthorized disclosure of official information illegal. Journalists publishing leaked government material could face prosecution. Whistleblowers risked prison. Critics quickly pointed out that the law allowed the government to hide embarrassing information simply by calling it secret. The law was later modified in 1989, but the secrecy system still remains. The rulebook had grown. 1936. Politics spills into the streets. By the 1930s, Britain had another problem. Political extremism. Fascist organizations marched through cities wearing uniforms. Violent clashes between rival groups became common. The government responded with the Public Order Act, 1936. The law banned political uniforms and gave police powers to control demonstrations, which meant the state now had authority to regulate how political expression happened in public spaces. Speech was no longer just about words. It was also about who could gather and where. 1965 to 1976, speech meets race relations law. After the Second World War, Britain changed rapidly. Immigration increased and society became more, diverse. Parliament responded with the Race Relations Acts of 1965, 1968, and 1976. These laws made incitement to racial hatred a criminal offense. A new idea had entered British law. Speech could be criminal not only because it threatened someone, but because of what it expressed. The rulebook had gained another chapter. 1986, the age of insult. By the 1980s, the rulebook received a major upgrade. The Public Order Act, 1986, created offenses for using threatening, abusive, or insulting words likely to cause harassment, alarm, or distress. Insults are famously difficult to measure. What one person considers an insult, another person considers a joke. Yet the law allowed speech to become a police matter if someone might experience alarm or distress. At this point, the rulebook had grown into a very impressive document. 1988 and 2003, then came the internet. Suddenly, everyone had a printing press in their house, and lawmakers reacted quickly. The Malicious Communications Act, 1988, and later the Communications Act, 2003, made it illegal to send messages that were grossly offensive or menacing through electronic communication. Which raises the obvious question: who decides when something becomes grossly offensive? Over the years, courts have had to examine tweets, jokes, and online comments to answer that question. The rulebook had now entered the digital age. 2006, religion enters the speech laws. In 2006, Parliament passed the Racial and Religious Hatred Act. This extended hate speech offenses to religion. After fierce debate, lawmakers inserted a clause protecting criticism, ridicule, and satire of religion, which revealed just how uneasy the boundaries had become. Even legislators recognized that the line between criminal speech and ordinary debate was difficult to draw. 2023. The Internet rulebook grows enormous. Finally, we arrive in the modern Internet age. The Online Safety Act, 2023, a massive regulatory framework designed to control harmful material on digital platforms. Technology companies are required to remove illegal content and reduce exposure to harmful material. Platforms face penalties if they fail to manage the content on their services, which means large technology companies now act as gatekeepers, deciding what speech remains visible online. The rulebook is now larger than ever. But laws are only half the story. Over the years, another kind of rulebook appeared, an invisible one, a cultural one. People increasingly began to watch what they say before anyone else has to. Self-censorship becomes normal. Conversations tiptoe around certain topics. People worry that saying the wrong thing could lead to losing a job, losing friends, or being labeled something socially radioactive. Words like racist, bigot, silly poo-poo head, extremist, or Islamophobic carry enormous weight in modern public debate. In this environment, the boundaries of speech are no longer just enforced by police or courts. They are enforced socially, by reputations, employers, and online mobs. Add in uneven and unjust enforcement of speech laws, have eroded trust in the entire system for normal British citizens, and the fear of arrest makes self-censorship guaranteed. But social pressure isn't the only thing that can make people hold their tongue or pen. Sometimes the reason people stay quiet is much simpler. They are afraid. And in recent years, one particular topic has become surrounded by exactly that kind of fear. Discussion around Islam, Islamist extremism, and the depiction of Muhammad. Criticism, satire, heck, even an unwanted fart in the direction of the Quran a mile away is met with protest, intimidation, violence, and unaliving. In the UK and across Europe, there have been stabby stabs and bang bangs, all because of speech. The entire mainstream seems to be on board due to fear. Journalists quietly stop drawing the cartoons. Teachers skip the lesson. Comedians decide maybe that joke isn't worth the trouble. No law has been passed. No police officer has knocked on the door. But the conversation still disappears. And so, here we are. More than 3 centuries after Britain helped unleash the loud, argumentative chaos of modern public debate, free speech is left lying discarded at the side of the road, beaten and bruised. What will it take for the British to fight back and reclaim their freedom? Join us for the next episode, where we find out how much dirty money Tucker Carlson really took from Qatar. Maths is fun! Bye, everybody!